We're not going to Hollywood, and we're not going to some far out place to find somebody that's famous. We're going to the regular guy.
He told me afterwards when I went back for the checkup, I didn't have heart disease. He said, now the smoking will eventually catch up to you. He said, you need to change professions.
We don't have to be the hardest. We don't have to be the toughest. As men, we can show that soft side of ourselves.
Hey, welcome everyone to the Good Fight Podcast. Man, we're here to inspire you. We're here to fire you up. And we're here to equip you with a good fight story.
Come on.
Michael, you like a good fight story?
I love a good fight story.
Yeah, I do too, man. Hey, I love a good fight story, and I'm your host, Riley Carver, along with my co-host, Mr. Michael Sims, a good friend of mine. And, man, we're just here today to inspire men to stay in the fight, right?
Yes, sir.
To inspire
Yes, sir.
men to stay in the fight. You know, I've had this idea for this podcast, Michael, for about 2 years. Have you ever been, help lead men's ministry?
I have.
Well, you know, like men's ministry, it is hard to get men to get together, right?
Timing never really works out, right?
Timing never works out. Men are busy. Everybody's busy. Men they have work to do. So, man, this idea of this podcast kind of came to mind. There's a lot of good stories. A lot of good stories. A lot of wealth. A lot of knowledge. Man, a lot of wisdom and some manly fight stories. The real men. Men that have gone through some things
and came out clean on the other side.
On the other side, giving praise to God. And those are the good fight stories. Man, what's a good fight story look like to you?
I mean, it's about that same side, just realizing that the natural way of fighting things never really produces too much of anything, right? But that surrender side, when it comes to the fight, the surrendering part of it allows the true side to come to it, and then the real fight begins, that good fight.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Well said.
Well, hey, I was doing some research, and I looked up, because, we're starting a podcast, man. Who would have known that we would have even tried this?
Yeah.
But, hey, I can do all things through Christ, right?
Come on.
So I was doing some research before we came on. You know how many podcasts there are currently, according to the research that I found?
No, I don't.
3.5 million.
What?
Wow.
Yeah, 3.5 million. Yeah, 3.5 million, and there's one survey that says 4.4 million.
Oh, wow.
So why is this podcast any different? I'll tell you why. Because we're going to use some real stories.
Okay.
We're not going to Hollywood, and we're not going to some far out place to find somebody that's famous. We're going to the regular guy, the guy that puts in 80 hours a week, gets up every morning, pulls his boots on, lives life, takes care of his family. Man, not a perfect guy, but real people.
But real people fighting a real fight on a daily basis.
And that's who we're going to use. So, man, Michael, this is how we're going to do this. We're going to find a guy to come on our podcast. We're going to find real men, to relate their stories, to come on our podcast and share a fight story. And today, man, we've got a fight story. We've got a fight story. Today, I want to introduce you to my good friend, Mr. Mitch McLemore. Mitch, how are you today, man?
I'm great. How are y'all doing?
Hey, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
So, hey, you put in a few years teaching and coaching, haven't you?
I have 34.
34.
And then grew up a coach's son, so be 59 in March. So 50 of my 59 years have been either around it, in it, or coaching. So
Yeah. Well, that's a fight story in itself, just the teaching and coaching, is it not?
It's been a blessed journey, but there have been struggles. But
Right.
yeah, glad to be here today.
Well, hey, thank you for what you do, because, man, we're in that situation right now where there's just not many teachers stepping up, and, man, it is a fight. I know, because I'm married to a teacher. I get it.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm one of those guys that the kids probably get tired of listening to, because we have a word of the day every day, and we talk about real stuff, and how men treat women, and all the bullcorn with social media, what the enemy would use for bad, how God uses it for good, and flips the script. And so very excited about what y'all are doing. Glad to be a part of it.
Well, thank you for being here, man.
Thanks for being here.
We're glad to be here, and man, we're hoping that we can inspire some guys that kind of get up and that kicked in the teeth. We run into them every day. We run into men every day that, man, they're fighting, but they're just fighting. That's all they're doing. That's all they're doing, is they're just fighting, and they really don't have any real direction
They're maintaining.
Yeah, that's right. They're maintaining. And we were talking about this yesterday, Michael, that a lot of guys, I know I was one of them. That's why I can relate.
Yes, indeed. Me too.
I was fighting on a downward projection forever, and wasn't paying attention to what was going on in my life. Just fighting.
Yeah.
Not really, not with any direction. But when I look back, I was on a downward projection, and it would have been nice to kicked on a podcast or something, and hey, somebody maybe stop me before I
touch bottom. Yes, and that's so many of us in the exact same way, right?
Yeah,
fighting that fight.
We grew up in a
know what we're
different
fighting
era.
for.
Yeah,
Men didn't relay their feelings or talk. At least when I grew up, that's sort of the way it was. There were expectations, but at the same time, grown men didn't cry.
Well,
mean.
We're gonna get into that here in just a minute.
know.
Before we get into that, you're already going down the road that we know that we all know because we've been there. But before we get into that, share a little bit about yourself. Where were you born at?
I was born in Olney, Texas. I believe Mom and Dad were living in Archer City at the time, and from there, I don't remember the first place they lived. I just remember he went to college at East Texas State, going to be getting ag. And I remember those apartment buildings we stayed in, and that's my earliest memories of all that good stuff. But I know they were both from Archer City. And anyway, took the ag degree and ended up getting into coaching. And so I grew up, back then they could fire you at the drop of a hat, or they let one go, they would go. So we moved around quite a bit. I've lost track of the number of times that Kim and I moved, along with the times I moved with Mom and Dad. Both of Butch McLemore was my father, earthly father, and Judy McLemore is my mom, and she's in her early 70s and healthy as a horse and still gets after my butt whenever I need getting after. And so I got to experience a lot of things, meet a lot of different people, from Coleman to Electra to Callisburg to Valley View to Iowa Park. So I wouldn't grow up any other way. So it was a blast, but at the same time, you never got really too settled anywhere because you never knew when the next move was going to be.
Made a lot of connections, though.
Made a lot of connections. I was very blessed, yes.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yes.
So when you sent me a little script or a little write-up on your life, you said you were married to the love of your life.
Amen to that. Actually, I was living in Holiday. Dad got out of coaching last year. My 7th grade year was at Electra. And he decided to get out because wherever we went, he wanted me to be able to go to high school there for 4 years. And in his business, that's not a certainty depending on how things go. So we ended up moving to Holiday. He sold insurance. That didn't go too well. But my 8th grade year at a track meet is the first time I met Kim McLemore, who was Kim Marnie. And I don't know if it was love at first sight, but she struck me. I can't describe it, but I knew she was the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen, young lady at that time. That being said, Dad asked me, you want to go here or do you want to go to Archer City? And Archer City's where our extended family is. And I said, I'd rather go to Archer City because grandparents live there, uncles, aunts, cousins. And she's from Archer City. Funny thing is, we did not date until, we didn't. She says she tried to get my attention a couple of times, but I don't recall that because I thought she was so far out of my league I didn't even bother with it. But the summer we graduated from high school, shortly after July 4th was our first real date. And here we are, fixing to celebrate 39 years of marriage. And
wow.
That's amazing.
2 amazing kids and 3 grandsons. And I just hit the jackpot.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah.
So it sounds like Archer City was the place that you were running to, right?
Yeah.
Based on, family was there, but
right.
like most of us men, chasing behind, The girl, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
I didn't even go for that reason. I just know after the first 2 days practice, the cheerleaders would bring up tea and all that kind of stuff like you did when they were real 2 days, 8 in the morning, 5 in the evening. And I remember from that track meet, and every time I looked at her, I thought, good Lord, she's beautiful. And not only was she beautiful, but she was kind, and, everybody had a great personality. And she dated different people. I dated different people. But then in summer of '84, God, it's always on His time, and I got lucky, and I guess she enjoyed the first date, and here we are.
Come on. I like it. I like it.
Yeah, I'm gonna say you probably married up.
Oh, way up.
Yeah, I
way,
did too.
way above my head. Absolutely. And
Yeah.
other people have told me that, and I just say I'm in full agreement.
Yeah, no doubt,
Yeah.
no doubt. Well, that's
Yeah.
good. That's good.
I outkick my coverage, as they say.
Right. Well, good. Well, man, so I know because I've had you help me out and fill in at the church and give some sermons and some talks, and so I know a little bit about your story, what I would call the fight story.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've watched you live out the good fight, but kind of give us an idea of like what was high school like? What was high school like, and what was maybe college like? Kind of give us an idea of how all that was going in your life.
It was great. Of course, I was anything athletics I was in, and I loved to compete. I loved all the sports. Archer City was the place we were supposed to be. I had family there, but developed a lot of friendships that still exist to this day, that are really good friends. Developed relationships that, after Dad passed away, Marvin Henry, who is the county agent there, he sort of took me under his wing. And, there's so many stories there that happened as I was growing up in high school and meeting people, but even after high school, that it would take a long time to explain everything and how it went. What I can say is I didn't realize how blessed I was until later on in my life.
Right.
Because I had a great family. I never wanted for anything. We were expected to work, and I started sacking groceries in the 7th grade and wasn't doing that. Dad or uncle would get me on the rod machine. So as I grew up in Arch City, had great experiences. We had a pretty good football team my senior year, and that was a blast, and had some success in track and various things. And I just knew, I either wanted to go to college to play baseball or football, and I got a walk-on invite to Southwest Texas State. But I fell in love that summer, and I was wrenching rods on a rod machine. And
Hold on. Because we know what wrenching rods is on a rod machine. I know that. You know that.
Right.
Michael, do you know that?
I definitely don't.
Hey,
Break it
there
down
might be
for
a
me.
lot of people that don't
Yeah.
know, but we realize that Archer City is an oil field and a ranching community. So explain what wrenching rods on a rod machine is.
Well, you've seen the pump jacks.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they're going up and down. Attached to the head of the pump jack is a polish rod, which connects to the rods, which run the pump.
That goes down into an oil well.
Which
I'm
is
explaining this real
Yeah,
clearly because
which
there's
is-
a lot of people don't get
Which
this.
sits
I'm one of
inside
them.
Okay.
2-inch or 2.5-inch tubing.
Yes, sir.
So what you hope for is rod jobs.
Yeah.
Unless it's a 5,000 footer and you're on a lay down machine like I worked on all the time, because that's 220 something rods out, 220 something back in. So it's a hard way to make a living. As a matter of fact, when I got out of coaching for 2 or 3 years during a period of fight, which we'll get to, bought with my uncle, went in halves on a pulling machine.
Oh yeah. I didn't
Work
know this.
over units, what some people call them.
Okay.
And of course, oil went from 30 to 16. We had to go to Brady, Texas to make ends meet, and that lasted about a year or so. And I had to find something to pay the bills, and so that was short lived. We had Mom had a little bit of production 3-barrel well there in Markley, Texas, and I got part of that. And then they came up with the $50,000 bond you had to put, which we didn't have, so we sold the lease. Anyway, long story short, we don't have that anymore. So I did that. I worked on garbage trucks for the city, and I said I'm not working on a garbage truck. Well, I went to work for the city, and one of Dad's best friends was the city manager at Buster Bourne.
Right.
And when I said that, Dad said you put his butt on a garbage truck, and I did work on the garbage truck back when you picked up the cans and with all the summer heat and the maggots and all that good stuff. So I never say never anymore.
No doubt.
I learned that at a young age.
Do you ever get used to the smell of the garbage?
No.
See, I had to,
No.
yeah,
See,
no doubt.
You jumped on the front side of getting used to the smell of the garbage. I'm still stuck on this wrenching rods, right?
Yeah.
And you said you fell in love with it, but it sounds like that's some real hard work.
I fell
Where'd
in
the
love.
love part come in?
I don't do it anymore. I can tell you
Okay.
that, because I was a young man getting at one time $6.25 an hour plus time and a half overtime. So, man, I thought I'd never see another poor day. As a matter of fact, I dropped out of college for a semester to save up money to buy Kim a ring.
Oh.
Then went back to college to finish the degree after we got married, but I couldn't get her a ring. So it's just what I knew. Dad was a pumper, and et cetera and so forth. I worked on drilling rigs, roustabout crews. It's just nothing but hard work. Pipes don't connect themselves. Everything's heavy. And if you get hurt in that line of work, usually it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Serious.
Yeah. Sound like a fight was
Lots
going on.
of four-fingered people worked on rod machines. I was fortunate to keep all mine.
Yeah, that's good.
But I also taught you, that life is tough, but you're tougher. God made you to be what you are, and you find a way to get through those 12-hour days or 80-hour weeks or whatever. And, in my case, I go home, and at that time, supper was fried food, whatever Kim put in the fryer, and then I'd have me a 12-pack of beer, and we'd start it over the next day.
No doubt. It's funny how that's changed. Like the fried food.
Yes.
Yeah, it's all healthy now.
Oh,
yeah.
Supposedly.
Yeah. Boy, a good chicken fried steak, you can't beat it.
Yeah.
No
I'm
doubt.
with you. I
No
agree.
doubt. No doubt. Well, so we were, I guess the first time that I'd ever really been around you much, I believe you were teaching up in Knox City, or coaching and teaching in Knox City, and that's where, and my wife had a job there at the middle school. And so we kind of got to know each other, but where I really got to know you, and I really thought, you know what, me and this guy have a connection, is you and Clay Reed and Coach Hutch, and who else? Y'all used to cow hunt tournaments.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so me and Trey Thompson, we would be in those tournaments also, and we would go to every tournament, and Graham was the big one at the
That was
time.
the granddaddy.
What kind of hunting did we
A
say?
coyote.
Coyote hunting.
Yeah.
Varmint
Yeah.
hunting kind
Varmint
Coyote.
hunts. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you go and you
Carlton Kendrick started that.
Yep.
And the first one that I know ever happened, other than a national championship out of New Mexico or somewhere, but he started that, and originally it was outlaw. There was no polygraph or anything like that. People sign up, and whoever kills the most coyotes, most cats, gets the points, they win the money. When we got in it, they actually had after you checked in, it was another 2 hours, because where do you buy the teams? What's it called? Like after a golf tournament?
The Calcutta.
Calcutta.
Yeah.
And so, it was a big deal. And I
Yeah,
actually started Marvin Henry, the county agent I'm referred to, showed me how to deer hunt, crappie fish, coyote hunt. First time I ever saw that happen. He was on the call, and I killed one, and I was hooked from that moment on. And he and I hunted together as a team for many years, and then we had Bill Crow come on. And anyway, at one point in time, there were 4 that wanted to go. We had a bunch of land to hunt at that time, and Clay had just started with a group. And somehow through the process, Marvin, because I was always running the light, and which was fine, but I could shoot too. And he said, "Why don't you and Clay do one team? We'll do the other. Whatever we win, we'll split." And we did that for a couple of years. So that's when Clay and I really, that's what, 95, 96, 97, somewhere in there.
Right. Yeah.
And we ran every contest we get in, we're in. and it was serious business.
Yeah, it's funny how when the money got high, the
Mhm.
polygraph had to come out
Yeah.
because when the money got where it was rich, yeah, people went to doing whatever they had to get enough coats and cats.
Well, just like, they caught that bunch at San Angelo.
Yeah.
You put that much money up with men,
Yeah.
there are people out there that are not, they're going to break the rules.
No
And
doubt.
The polygraph, we got where we would not hunt one unless there was a polygraph.
No doubt, yeah. I agree.
Which is, there's another story to that too, but I'll leave that for another time.
Yeah.
The Elk City, Oklahoma hunt, which doesn't exist anymore, doesn't exist because Clay and I won it, but we got cheated. I'll just leave it at that.
leave it like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it happens, man. It does. It happens.
But I did that up until I took the job at Big Spring, and after the heart attack there in 19, it sort of slowed my roll down, and we still.
Wait. We can't just skip over that. The heart attack. What?
Oh well, that was Big Spring. I was at Junction, my first AD job. I really wasn't looking to leave Stanford. Perfectly happy, love the community, love the people, the kids. We had a lot of success, and it was a great place to be. So I hadn't applied anywhere, and I get a phone call. And it's a guy from Junction that knew a coaching friend of mine, and would I look at it? I said, sure. At that time, Hutch was planning on staying too. That's before Lubbock Monterey came after him. And anyway, well, what would it take to get you here? I said, well, my wife is chief appraiser, but got to make the same money, et cetera, and so forth. And luckily, the judge at Anson told Kim she was handing in her resignation when we decided to take a leap of faith and go.
Okay.
And do the AD thing. And he refused to take it. Said, you can work from home. You come when you need to come because she is damn good at what she does. And so that all worked out. God lays stuff in front of us, but I had no intention of leaving Stanford. Knox City loved it. And I was asked about becoming the head coach AD when we were going 6-man, and I told the board, I said, that would be a disservice to y'all and the kids.
Right.
Because I'm not experienced in that realm. And
total different game.
Right.
Totally
and
different game.
Titles are titles, and I'm not, that's great, but I don't think it'd be the best thing for y'all.
Right.
And so we ended up, Wayne got the Stanford job and ended up fortunate enough, he asked me to come over and be the DC and track, and the journey continued.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, good.
But we still passed the side of the heart attack. What was going on? What
Oh,
happened?
well,
Michael's not letting
I'm not letting one go
Well,
because
well,
in that, right, you still do what you do, but once again, part of this fight that we're looking at that you endured. Let's talk about that.
That heart attack. Well, Big Spring was a hard place to coach, and when I took the job, they called me the second year. The first year I didn't get it. They called me. Chris Wigington was a soup. We did it. It was a pretty big pay raise, but a big challenge at the same time. I mean, it was 4:30 to 6:30 on non-game nights.
Okay.
I mean, you had to keep your foot on top of it. At the same time, the stress from doing that and trying to flip what we're trying to flip to be competitive every year, plus my earlier years and choices I made, at some point, I started having chest pain in Stanford in 2012. Went and had all the stuff done, and they put me on some type of blood pressure medicine, et cetera, and so forth. Well, at Big Spring, I got reassigned, which is an interesting story. The assistant soup's son was my DC, and I told Kim, when he became the soup, this is what's going to happen, and it happened. That caused more stress, and for several days, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't lay on either side, and I tried to hide it for Kim, but I got up, and I'd have to just walk around and pray, and when it would hit, I'd have to put my hands like on that table in front of me and lean over and breathe through it and just pray through it. And the second night she caught me, she said, "You're going to the doctor." Well, I was at the doctor's office the next morning knocking on the door. They let me in. They put me on blood pressure measured it. She left the room. The doctor came back, said, "You're having a massive heart attack."
Oh, wow.
The Widowmaker. And the survival rate on the Widowmaker is not very good. But I serve an amazing God and Savior.
Come on.
And I said, "Well, do I drive to the hospital and meet you there?" She said, "No, you're not driving anywhere. I've already called the firemen. I figured you would do that. So they're going to come get you, and you're going to go with them."
See, once again, a man trying to fight his own fight, right?
There you
Yep.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, trying to be independent and, stupid. But then as that deal ended, my bottom right was, they said 90% stopped up, April of 19, get the Petrolia job and go to Dr. Palmer in Wichita Falls. And he said, yeah, 45-minute deal. He goes in, it turned into a 2-hour deal. He couldn't get the wire through. It was 100% blocked. And it's funny because I'm watching, they're going through my vein. This is the only way. The groin hurts like heck. But I'm watching, and he can't get the wire through. He said, "We got a problem." I said, "Be the badass you're supposed to be and get the damn wire through."
Come on.
I said, "Let's go." And boy, he started barking out orders, and I said something. He said, "If I want to talk to you again, you'll know it. So just be quiet," basically. And he went out and told the family after it took so long, sometimes it's good to have a coach on the table.
There you go.
So,
Coached him up.
yeah.
There
Had
you go.
to do a little coaching because
I
had to
remind
go-
him of
I had to
why
go
he
to the
gets paid
bathroom.
so good.
That's it, right?
I had
And
to
it's,
go,
hey,
yeah, I need to go to the bathroom too.
Yeah.
He told me 45 minutes. Well, we're an hour into this,
Right.
and we still haven't got a stent in. And then he didn't like the other stent, ended up with 4 of them. And he told me afterwards when I went back for the checkup, I didn't have heart disease. He said, now the smoking will eventually catch up to you. He said, you need to change professions. He said, I can't say it for a fact, but stress is
Wearing you
causes
out.
a lot of damage.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. Well, good. Well, man, so I'm ready for you to tell your fight story.
Okay,
You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Well, throw it on us, man. We're ready to hear it. We know what you were raised up doing.
Right. To be clear, I had the best upbringing anybody could hope for, pray for. Had great parents. Like I said, never wanted for anything. We weren't rich, but we weren't poor. We all worked. I was loved. Had lots of good friends. And every bad choice I ever made, I made. I talked to kids about peer pressure. I said, I don't believe in that. I said, because not one of the bad choices I made in my life did anybody make
force
me
you to
good.
make, right?
So, during that period of time, drinking beer as you went into high school was sort of a rite of passage, I guess you'd say. You go to the rodeo, but now during athletic season, never. If we're in a sport, never did it. Summers, different story.
Absolutely.
You got older, you got a vehicle, et cetera, and so forth. I did really stupid things. I mean, and I had a group of friends that would do crazy things with me, like climb a fence to go jump off a water intake or, whatever the case might be. But that led to the summer of '84, which is, like I said, when Kim and I had our date. We're having a July 4th party, and I had tried a taste of marijuana. I didn't like it. Had some friends into it, and we cussed out those people, druggies, blah, blah, blah. And we're on the way to this party in my pickup. Went to Wichita Falls, got 20 cases of Budweiser, Penguin Ice, filled it up. Got so heavy it blew out my tire when we got to Kickapoo. And a friend of a friend said, here, try this. And it was cocaine. And, no, man, I'm not doing that stuff. No, it's all right. It's not like they say. Did my first line of cocaine. Did a couple more that night. Really didn't. It was good. Had a good time, all that good stuff. But unfortunately, that opened the door to a realm where evil is very prevalent.
Yes.
God's real, the enemy's real too.
Yes.
No doubt.
But he gave us free will. But I chose to do that line. Now, for many years, I was a functioning addict. In other words, I'd go to work, I got my first teaching job in '89. I got off of it. I'd quit drinking. I'd do this, that, and the other. But when I had free time, I ended up going back. Then it was methamphetamine. And I like meth better than Coke because it lasted longer. It enhanced my drinking. I could drink more beer and not feel bad, still feel good. And that was the beginning of a long, dark journey. And I functioned very well. Nobody knew. Never did it at work or anything like that. But it got me. 4 years into my coaching career, I took a job as my first defensive coordinator. Dad was killed in a car wreck September 2nd of that year. And we were in a different town. And some stuff happened. And I resigned at the semester. Nothing I did, just some stuff I wasn't going to tolerate. And that's when I got a pumping job, had lots of free time, and had the money to do things that I that I did. And I became a cocaine addict, or an addict to the nth degree. I didn't even drink much because I didn't want it to mess up with my use of drugs.
Right.
If they make it, I tried it. You name it. From acid to meth, coke. I did Dilaudid once. I don't know how people do that. It made me sicker than a dog. And it just got worse. And what's crazy about it is I realize this is happening. And I get in that Bible. And I gave my life to Christ I don't know how many times. Help me stop this. Read Revelations 18 times. Why, I don't know. But it got really, really bad to the point that I was so hooked, if you will. There used to be a commercial of a guy in a little vial trying to get in that's made of glass and he can't get out, and that's the best explanation I can give you of how addictive that stuff is. And as it progressed, I did more and more and got involved with some people who really dealt in pounds of methamphetamine and ounces of cocaine. And there's a line you can cross as an addict when you do it in a certain form.
Okay.
And the people who cross that line, their recovery rate or chance for getting off that stuff are minimal. I crossed that line. And I started doing it in a way that is virtually, without God's interaction, impossible to get off of. Well, as all this developed, my family loved me. Kim loved me. We had Marnie. I loved them, but I loved that more. I didn't realize it,
Right.
but it had me. I didn't have it. And so relationships deteriorated. The drug dealers were scared of me. They wouldn't hang out with me because I was crazy. Because the amount that I would do, how many days I'd stay up. And I'm just laying it out there because it's real. So I ended up, long story short, went to 6 rehabs. And I was very good at talking my way out of those places. So I'd get a counselor. Within 2 weeks, I'd have them convinced I was good. And I had periods of sobriety, if you will. But toward the end, when I was doing close to 3 grams a day.
Oh, wow.
Which is an 8 ball, which is, that's a lot of cocaine. Kim and Marnie were living with my mom. I had lost my pumping job. I was finding little jobs here and there to make money to support my habit. I looked like a scarecrow, and I've got a .38 pistol and a 6-pack of Budweiser and a bottle of pills. And I didn't have the guts to do anything with it. but it was the lowest point in my life. And I got a call from one of my sponsors when I started going to treatment and AA and all that good stuff. And he said, Mitch, you got two choices right now. He said, look out your window. I said, yeah, cop car. It was Sheriff P.L. Pippin, who I love to death. And his two sons are two of my best friends in this world. He said, Jody Bloodworth was my sponsor. He is a cowboy on a big ranch. You know,
Right.
he was a heroin addict back in the day
Back
and
in the
overcame it. And he said, either he's going to come get you and you're being committed to the state hospital, or we're going to send somebody else and they're going to take you to a place in Tucson, Arizona. And I said, well, I'm not doing either. He said, do you think PL is going to allow that to happen? I said, no, I know PL. I don't want to make him mad. I love him. Plus, he'll beat the hell out of me. But
Sometimes that's what it takes,
I
right?
said, all right, I'll go. I'll take Tucson, Arizona. Fortunately for me, when I got there, this counselor was a former piano player in the Jethro Tull band. He had been down this road. Well, the first time I talk in group, he starts laughing. And I mean, gets out of his chair rolling on. I said, and it pissed me off because I'm giving my good stuff, all the psych. I know what they want to hear, and I'm feeding him what he wants to hear. And I said, what the hell's your problem? He said, you're a liar. You're lying your ass off. You're not going anywhere. Woo, you got a long way to go.
He called BS on
He
it.
called,
They
yeah.
called me out. And boy, it pissed me off. But he gave me little things to help and all that. None of it helped. I just wanted the hell out of there.
All right.
Problem was I had no money, I had no vehicle, I had no way home. And I had reached the lowest point other than sitting on that couch like I talked about. And I ran out into the desert and I told God.
And this is in Arizona.
This is in Arizona. I told Jesus, I said, if you're real, either kill me or save me.
Right.
I can't live like this anymore. And he literally put his hand on my shoulder. I didn't see him, but he was there,
Right.
just as real as we are right now.
Absolutely.
And he said, Mitch, it's going to be okay. From that moment on, I didn't want any more drugs, had no desire for them. I understood that I might lose my marriage. I understood that Mom, when I got back, would not let me in the house. I completely surrendered. Whatever your will is, just guide me.
Right.
You're going to have to carry me. We had the family visit coming that next week, and it freaked them out because all I did was give them the love, my wife and my mom, that they deserve.
Right.
And said, I'm so sorry. And I know apologies can't fix it, but I'm not that guy anymore. And all I can do is tell you that, and you'll just have to see for yourself because he's got the will now. And I said, but whatever y'all choose, know that I love you. Know, Kim, know you're the love of my life. And I can't make enough amends to make up for the things that I've done. I wasn't physically violent. It wasn't that. It's just I wasn't there.
Right.
And they both said, wow, something's going on. Well, through God's good grace, somehow I ended up with money for a bus ticket. They wanted me to go to a halfway house, which is 50-50. A lot of people go there and they get addicted again.
Come on, worse than the wind.
And I said, no, God laid it on me. No, I'm not supposed to. I'm supposed to get my butt back to Arch City. Guy there, we're talking. He's loaned me $110. And took the bus back. Told Kim I was coming back. Mom, all of them knew it. Wanted to see my daughter. I got to. I still had a pickup they were trying to repossess. So I managed to get around. I lived in my pickup. I had another friend that was a recovering addict that every once in a while I go stay on their couch. got a job with road construction. And that's when Marvin Henry, when nobody else had hair down to here, uh, the friend would let me take a shower every now and then. Got a job with country club, then road construction, and every morning Marvin Henry would meet me in the Dairy Queen for coffee.
Now, was Marvin Henry? Now, he used to hunt the cow hunts too.
He's,
by himself,
he's,
didn't he?
Well, yeah, he could. He's even when he was in his upper 60s, he would, if he went on an all-night hunt, he never went to sleep.
Yeah, well,
I'm past that.
I'm just making sure it's the same guy.
Yeah,
I was making sure.
He taught me everything I know about cow hunting.
Right.
And fishing and hunting. Not that Dad didn't. He didn't have the opportunity doing what he did. And when nobody else would talk to me, or, because, oh, yeah, that's that guy. And I was that guy.
Yeah.
Every morning, he'd come in there and have coffee with me at the Dairy Queen. And at one point, his wife said something to him about it. He said, by God, I'll have coffee with him whenever I want to. He's Butch's son, and he's my friend, and we're going to take care of him.
Hey, that's good.
Eventually, through God's good graces, him alone. Nothing I did. I mean, I want everybody to be perfectly clear. Everything that got me to that point was my fault. I mean, every single mistake made, every bad word said was nobody's fault but mine. And through the way God works, I would talk to him in my truck, just like I still do. And we'd get, sometimes, there was a saying, I'd put my hands under my ass and sit there till my ass fell off to keep from doing something stupid.
Okay.
And those moments became rarer. Kim and I got back together, lived in a government apartment, ended up getting a better job, and eventually, through the course of time, didn't touch alcohol for 25 years. Still don't want anywhere near any of the other stuff. Ended up back together. Praise be to God. Had Ty. And I'm building abstracts. My mom had bought an abstract company, and I love building abstracts. I hated the title work. I was working for them, and Tommy Sloan was the head coach at Archer City. Wayne was the DC there. They had a chance to win a state title those 2 years, and Pilot Point and Salina were playing. And Tommy said, I know you coach, your dad coach, would you go scout this game? Well, I took my brother and brother-in-law to help me, and I said, look, all I need y'all to get is the quarterback's feet action. I gift or a curse, I can see the rest of it. Right. I can see the line blocking, I can see the secondary row, all that good stuff. And it was raining. I scouted both sides because I didn't know who was going to win, and took him a 16-page scouting report. Well, later that year, the next spring, he asked if he could meet with me. I said, sure. He said, you need to be in coaching. I said, Tommy, I don't think that's an option for me here. He said, I think it is. I think what you went through, yeah, I've heard stories, but, God has a way of changing people. And when he intervenes, he intervenes. And he said, your scouting report's one of the best I've ever had. And I said, well, I love it, but Dad told me never do it in my hometown. And he said, I'll take care of you. You'd be as, JV or whatever. And I ended up back in coaching. Of course, after about 2 weeks, I was head secondary coach.
Right.
And then I was up there on Sundays. And then I was the head baseball coach. And here we are today.
And here you are today.
And it's all Jesus Christ.
Amen.
John 14:6 changed my life. I'd read a lot of stuff, but why it hit the way it hit, when I told him either kill me or save me, that verse that came in my head, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. No one goes to the Father but through me. And that saved my life. And because there's no way with the amounts that I should be alive, there's no way. I got thrown out of the back of pickups, cracked my skull, all this while all this was going on. And here I am today with a cancer in remission that can't be in remission.
Right.
With one more challenge, waiting on a little liver deal, but he's got that too. And I could talk for hours about the amazing things he did during that period of time. And I'm just so grateful. He's so real. And that's when I told the kids I was retiring, I said, if I could give y'all one thing, God is real. Jesus is real. It's not make-believe stuff. He's in this room right now.
Amen.
And the Holy Spirit that he left us with didn't leave with the apostles and the disciples. It's within us.
Come on.
But we have to choose to pursue his word so that we get revelation. And it's been a journey, and I'm learning something every day. You know, I mean, I haven't read the whole Bible. I may have read most of it by now, but every day he revealed, because I seek every day, first thing in the morning, I seek his word.
That's good stuff.
And that's not Mitch, because Mitch couldn't be that disciplined. That's God giving me what I need
Daily
to do what I need to do.
That's
Right.
it. That's it.
Well,
And it's that connection. It's constant. And man, I've seen some miraculous things. There's 2 God moments in my life. The one was the desert in Tucson, Arizona, and one happened at Walmart in Stanford about 2 months ago.
oh yeah.
And of course, there's lots of God moments. And that's what I told the kids. What do you got to lose?
No doubt.
You're at the age of choice. I'm not a preacher. I'm not a minister, but I can testify. And I shared real stuff with them. I said, I'm the guy in the driveway that had the mom drive up while I was at Arch City and tell me I was not to date her daughter.
Right.
And I said, you know what? She was right. I wouldn't let my daughter date me. Not because I mistreated them, but I drank a lot. I ran fast. I ran heavy. Stayed out a lot. And I said, so those are things that are real. But if you know those 2 things, if you just know they're real,
Mhm.
God and Jesus, they're real. Their promises are real. I've experienced them. I've experienced miracles are real.
No doubt.
And he's not bound by space and time and all that stuff.
Well, yeah, the 2 things I'm getting out of this story are relationship
Yeah.
and ownership. Man, God put relationships in your life, your wife, and all the people that came in and intervened along the way.
Yes. Yes.
And then you, ownership.
Well, and speaking on that side of things, the thing I heard, even from the downward spiral to the dark spot, and the fight was there, what the shifting point was really a surrender. And that was when that good part of the fight actually became alive, is when you surrendered. It wasn't really the fact of you trying to fight out of things and work your way through things anymore. You surrendered and you turned it over.
Totally.
And then in the process of that, the restoration came, the healing came,
Exactly.
and projected you to the place that you.
I got out of the way.
That's it.
I got out of God's way. I mean, I got to a point where I either need to die or get out of the way. I mean, I didn't think of it that way at the time. I was just tired of being miserable.
But I think there's a lot of guys, a lot of men that are going to
Yes.
hear this story, and they're not out of their way yet. They're still in their own way.
Still trying to fight a fight,
Yep.
but they really don't understand what they're fighting.
And it's still a battle every day with different things.
No
Yes.
doubt.
And you know, my battles today are not with cocaine. They're what can I do to help this person? What can I give the kids beyond football, X's and O's? And that's why the retirement, that's a whole different story. But the woman in Walmart, he gave me affirmation, affirmation, affirmation. And I'm that guy.
Right.
I like burning bushes.
Come on.
I mean,
So many of us do.
Yeah,
no
yeah.
doubt.
So many
no
of us
doubt.
do.
But very seldom does it come that way.
Yeah,
It's
no
usually very subtle, and it's through people like you, and people like you, and the people in this room, and people I've been blessed to get to know, and also let them know the enemy's real.
Yeah, no doubt.
And if we had one young man give his life to Christ, several did, but so proud, and was talking to him. I said, "You will come under attack." And I will say this: I had no idea the depths of the battle until I made the surrender. And the first part was pretty hunky dory, but as you continue to get closer and closer to God,
Yeah.
and realize the depths of His love. We think we love our wives. Then you have children, you love them. That's a different depth. Then you have grandchildren, whole different depth. He's got all the depths.
Well, I think that's exactly what this is all about. Is because, man, you're a coach. You didn't strategize against anybody that was over there sitting on the bench that didn't come in the game. And
That's
as
right.
soon as you come in the game and you start walking out a life of faith, it's not an easy walk.
No.
Because the life of faith, once you step into the game, guess what the devil starts doing? He starts strategizing against you.
Yes, he
And,
does.
and you're in the game, and guess what he's doing? He's trying to take you out.
He does not want Jesus and God glorified.
Hey, he'll set up, as long as you're over there sitting on the bench,
He's good.
he's good.
That's
right.
just as good, right? That's just as good. But listening to it, and something that, is drawn from this whole side is, no matter what battle you've been in, no matter how ugly it's been, and the farthest points that we hit, it's never too far that God can't reach us, right? But also in the same turn can't restore you and project you back to the place that He originally had for you. And so many of us as men, we think that once I've gone through this, because I didn't do this, because this happened, now there is no hope for me anymore. But inside this story that you've given us, you totally showed us that no matter what, through surrender and laying down the life, there's still hope on the other side of things, right?
He is all things.
Hey, and the best part about this is, and we didn't mention your two kids right at the front end of this, but the best part about your story, and you can tell us about your kids real quick, but the generational blessings that they're going to carry on to their kids and to then your great grandkids, family that you'll never know, because you are fighting the good fight and because you made that surrender to allow God to lead you. Man, those generations are going to be blessed.
I pray so, and I believe that.
Yeah.
Because that's what He tells us.
Well, I know your two kids, and they're great adults, and they're not kids anymore, but they're great adults.
I got four now. I got Ty and Victoria, and I got Marnie and Jacob.
Yeah, no doubt.
And yeah, they're amazing. And the interesting thing is, even after I surrendered, and I mean, my love for Him jumped, 1,000-fold, because little things that I'd never thought about, the depths of love were revealed in acts of kindness, and I was still a fighter and all that, and I'd get bowed up,
You bet.
It didn't take much, but He continually revealed things in my life that I never thought about or I dismissed. And I wish I'd had people tell me, like the show y'all are doing, when I was 17.
Right.
And I'm sure I did hear some stuff and didn't pay attention, but it's different than sitting in church, which is critical, than hearing it, something like this. It's just
Real.
everybody's reached differently,
No
different
doubt.
types of learners. I was a hard-headed learner. In other words, I was going to, by God, do it my way. If it meant getting a square and a round hole, you get the hammer.
Bigger hammer.
Come on.
Bigger
So
hammer.
that must
baby.
have been you in the front of the boat I was looking at, right? I was in the back of that same boat.
But
Yeah, no doubt.
even when we got back and I got back into coaching at Archer City, we still didn't go to church very much. And my excuse, hypocrites.
Yeah.
Because of all the things I did and didn't do, they're going to judge me. We happened to move in next door to the Roger Derenwater, who's the pastor for the Baptist church there in Archer City. And we had several conversations, but one day he said, and we lived right across the street from it, and our daughter, I don't know how old she was, 7, 8, every weekend she wanted to go to church. And I made excuses. Kim took her a couple of times. But the first time she went, or the second time when they made a call, she went to the church. She went to the front and gave her life to Christ.
Awesome.
She led us to church.
Come on.
Not me.
No.
she did. I mean, she's got some gifts. You know, the gifts of the Spirit are real. Everybody's got different
No doubt.
ones. And we're living across, and I'm making all the excuses in the world, and they're not really valid excuses.
Well, you know, excuses are just a crutch for the uncommitted.
That's right.
You know, we
That's
say
right.
that
And
all
I
the
didn't
time.
want to be committed.
And once again,
That's right.
another fight that we fight, right?
Yeah,
And allowing ourselves to get in the way.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, in this profession, you endure a lot of stuff. You have a very small circle of friends. It's relatively lonely, because you have a relationship with coaches and teachers and all that, but at some point in time, you're going to make a decision on the playing field or something that's going to upset somebody.
no doubt.
Even though I love them all, we all have different gifts. Not everybody can be the fastest kid. Not everybody can be the quarterback. That kind of stuff.
Right.
But God put it heavy on my heart going into this year. Just share this one thing, Philippians 2, 3, and 4, and I've got it pasted on the door of the coach's office. And it says, "Do nothing," and I'm selfish.
Selfish.
I just told you how
Come
selfish I was. "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interest, but each of you to the interest of the others." And I'm 58 years old, and I may have had a little glimmer of that, but this has been one of those last 2 or 3 years that this has become the most important part of my walk with Christ.
Good.
Take Mitch out of it. What can you do to bring comfort, peace, something good to somebody else? Maybe it's somebody needs $5. I've had kids that Allsup's burrito and a Coke fixes a bunch of things for them.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute. Allsup's. What's I'm a Chicago boy. I mean, what Allsup's? What's this
You never
Allsup's
had
thing?
their burritos?
Is this a Texas thing?
It is. They're the
I had to
best.
throw a rock.
I
I'm
call
sorry.
Come
them
on, man.
gut bomb.
Everybody's got to have a gut bomb.
You
every
got to
once in a while.
have them every once in a while. They're amazing.
I mean, that's health food.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. Well, cool. Well, man, I love the story. I love it. Thank you for sharing it with us. I mean, I think, man, there's all kinds of knowledge and wisdom that I believe men, women too, will get out of it. You know, the best fight story in the whole thing, I believe your wife is living testimony
That's
to
it.
Absolutely.
Man, what about that? You know, the grace and the love and support
Wow, she's
so
she's had a connection with God that I didn't have for a long time.
yeah, no doubt.
And Marnie getting us to go to church, and you know, like I said, we missed going to church last 5 weeks, family, all that, good stuff. But I miss it. I mean, when I don't get to go, I physically miss it. That's why I called to ask you if y'all had Facebook.
Oh yeah.
Because when
yeah.
I'd have to miss it, I'd watch y'all on Facebook. And God called us to be a part of that church in whatever way. And
Right.
you said sermon, so any chance I get to glorify Him, my Father, my Savior, Jesus Christ of Nazareth, and the Holy Spirit, I would be amiss not to do so. Any chance, even though it leads people to thinking different things, I don't worry about that anymore.
Come on.
It's all about Him. It's all about what they've done. It's not my faith. It's God's faith. It's not my grace. It's Jesus' grace. It's not my love. It's their love. And I think the last time I gave testimony with the cancer stuff, you know, and I'm still going through that, and that's been an ordeal. And long 3 years doing chemo, immuno, and not missing a practice, and having a bleed out and telling the doctors, I got to be at practice. No, you're not. Well, I was. And my son was, you lost your damn mind. You go sit in the pickup. I said, if you're going to talk faith, you got to walk it.
That's it.
And I
There you
said,
go.
I don't know much, but I know I'm going to be at that practice.
Yeah.
Not because I'm probably going to contribute much, but He is the great healer.
Right.
He is my Savior. He is my King. He's my Heavenly Father. And because of Jesus, I get to be an adopted son. And I think about that every day. And it was never anything to do with selfishness, or maybe it was. I mean, I'm selfish, but it was
It's a trait that we
mainly.
all have.
I've heard a lot of stuff, but when kids and people tend to see and internalize better than hear
Yeah.
and internalize.
Right.
Some people, everybody's geared a little bit different.
So, to wind this thing down, because man, like I said, we could sit here all day.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and talk shop. But to wind this thing down, because we're focused on a men's audience. Give the men out there that are going to listen to this maybe one nugget of advice, which you've given a bunch, but that one nugget of advice that's always there with you, that might keep them from having to bottom out before they start fighting a good fight.
It's okay to be the nice guy. It's okay to be the good guy. It's okay to be the soft guy. Maybe that guy needs to be tough for now. It takes courage to suppress your human emotion if it helps that child of God in some form or fashion.
It's good. That's good.
Sometimes the best thing you can say is nothing. And I've had a lot of ugly stuff said to me over the years, and I've learned, now this has been recent, taking a long time for him to work on me, but sometimes the best thing I can do is just say, hey, I love you, and I hope I'm sorry, or I hope it works out. And that's hard for me. It's hard to, all right, you're tougher than me, or, hey,
no doubt.
okay, that's my fault.
Right.
Some standing in the gap is that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to stand in the gap because that person needs you to, that team needs you to, taking the loss, blame for a loss that is not your fault, whatever it might be. Standing in that gap, I've had people stand in it for me, like
Good.
Marvin Henry coming to have coffee, Clay Reed becoming my coyote hunting partner, my brother, my mom. I'm not going to get into that. She's amazing because there's three of us, and we all have pretty amazing stories, and she never lost her faith through all of it.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Lord. Well, hey, man, Mitch, thank you, man. I appreciate you coming on. Thank you for sharing
Yes,
your
indeed.
stories.
Definitely a great story. And I mean,
yeah,
I'm like this. There's a lot to be taken from that.
No
right?
doubt. No
a lot
doubt.
to be taken from that. And that last speech that you gave is a great piece, right? We don't have to be the hardest. We don't have to be the toughest. As
That's right.
men, we can show that soft side of ourselves. And a lot
That's
of times that is the thing that opens up
Breaks
another
the
part,
ice.
breaks the ice, and opens up that other component inside of another person. So that's
So
great.
that enemy's hammering in people's head all the time.
Yes.
Well, good deal, man. Well,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you, Mitch.
Thank
you,
y'all.
Michael. Hey, we've got one down.
Hey,
One down.
that's it.
All
That's
right.
it.
So until next time, man, just keep fighting the good fight.
Continue to fight the good fight.
All right. We're out.
That's it.